This is Kenny Moon
and Ground Control,
and you're tuned in to Underground Outpost.
Down any alleyway with neon lights to run display. And the girls who they come out to play in the crazy horse cabaret. And that's where some naughty who drive fast fancy cars. They make a man out of me. Bad lips, bad tits. I love those who love marble smoking guns. They always beat you up when you're slowing down. Things skirts and their ardent way. Cellophane champagne.
Welcome to Undergroundopolis, everybody. Oh yeah, we're approaching Halloween time, aren't we? This is one of my favorite times of the year. This and April Fool's Day. I really like April Fool's Day. Those of you who know me personally can't imagine how much you like. You know, I love April Fools because I'm gonna prank your ass. Well, just a bit of I don't really have any local announcements other than October 20th. Jesse and the Hog Brothers will be at 21st Germantown and with D Boom Pittman and the Fugitives. Jesse and the Hog Brothers being my band. I'll just plug in my band for a second because nobody has sent me anything to plug in. So sorry. There's a little bit of a warning. If you hear kittens, that's because there's kittens down here. Oh, speaking of kittens, you know, if you're local to me or if you want to drive to Louisville, Kentucky, and you want a free kitten, come on down. They've been vaccinated, they've been flea treated, they've been fixed, and they're free. Ha! I see everybody's going to jump at that. Like, they're gorgeous. They're cuddly. Hey, my guest. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on just a second because he is staying up to some ungodly hour of the night because he's way over across the pond, and there's like a 5-hour time difference. So of course this is a pre-recorded video, not a live video. So that way I'm not keeping him up way last. I love having the overseas, for me, guests. I love having them on. I'm always excited when somebody from Europe or from Australia or someplace comes on. This guy just has happened to tour both. Right. Tell us who you are, where you're from.
Hey up, mate. My name is Jimmy Maddon. That's Maddon. From Sheffield in England, sort of via my time living in Melbourne, Australia. So it's not too late here. It's not too bad. We have got our times to line up pretty nicely. But speaking of the cats, hold on to one for me. When I find myself over your way, I'm desperate to get another cat at the moment. It's been the longest I've not had a pet cat at the moment since I've come back. And I'm trying to find every which way to get one back in my life.
Well, I tell you, I've got a cat farm out back, man. It's like I'm constantly seeing new kittens, and we catch them and we get them fixed and everything, and we release them. But and every one of them's been pretty good cats. So it was like it probably won't be a real difficult task, other than getting it back over. You'll have to give it a sleeping pill or something.
I don't know how the cat would enjoy the plane flight.
Well, I know people that's giving them sleeping pills and carrying them on in a bag, so to speak.
Probably that may not get away with over here.
Maybe not. We'll start out with the easy questions.
Lovely.
Love your look, by the way. You love the glam look. I always love that because I can't grow hair anymore. So
I'm holding on to while I've got it. Really, it's a sort of it's as if sort of Freddie Mercury and probably like Tommy Lee merged together is the best way I can describe my look at the best of times.
Well, that being said, if you saw somebody on TV or on stage or anything, and you could have more than one answer, and you said, "I want to do that," who is that influence? If you could
Oh,
have more than one answer.
ever since I was a kid, really, it was Freddie Mercury. Uh, watching Queen, and I think that 20 minutes at Live Aid is really any want to be musician should study that and watch it. He was probably my earliest memories miming to DVDs and VHRs of Queen live, and when it'll cut to a shot of Brian May, I'll be Brian. When it'll cut to a shot of Fred, I'll be Fred. So that's probably the answer. Outside of being able to just watch myself.
How would you describe the music you make?
um Operatic glam rock, perhaps potentially. I think orchestrally arranged glam rock is probably a better way to put it. There's a lot of influences that come through from all sorts of genres, and I sort of, if I catch something I like, I'll give it a crack to reproduce it, but in very much a over the top flamboyant nature.
Well, so when did you release your album?
So the first album came out in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. So when I didn't have any great rock and roll launch party with strippers and cocaine and snake charmers and fire breathers and shaking down the weird tree and catching what come out. And so I didn't get to have any of that. It was quite a strange experience for me. I released the record living on my own in an empty house at the time. Sort of woke up and went, okay, that's out now.
Now,
Suppose we move on to the next project.
what's your favorite song to play live right now then? And I know that's we're getting into the tougher questions.
Yeah. I've got one I've written recently called Talk Dirty to Me, and that's got a great little bluesy riff in it, and I'm having a lot of fun starting to open the shows with that. Otherwise, I've sort of kind of medleyed up a couple of the singles that were off the record, and I'm having a lot of fun bringing that in because these were songs I couldn't play live when the album came out because the world just stopped. So probably those ones are the ones I'm most enjoying knocking about with at the moment.
Yeah, because you couldn't play them out. So where can we hear "Talk Dirty to Me"?
Nowhere yet, except for
Damn.
the north of England. But it is on the list of a track to be cut in a studio here in the next probably month or 6 weeks, and to have out before the end of the year. So "Talk Dirty to Me" will be out before the end of the year. That
Right
I can assure the listeners of.
Well, where all have you've been at it a while? You started before the pandemic. I know. I've looked it up. You've been at it. Where all have you toured and performed?
So toured around Australia, in back 2015 when I was just a young 18-year-old with more ambition than talent. Then later on in 2015, I toured around Asia for the first
Oh wow!
time. Yeah, which was amazing, and got to play in some. I know we're not coming back and doing a show through Indonesia, which isn't really, I suppose what people would think to be like a rock scene or a rock capital, but surprisingly, they absolutely loved it, and they were one of the most. Every night I played there were just some, funnily enough, most energetic crowds I've ever played in front of. Eclectic crowds. I remember one show I played was at a festival, and there was a snake charmer on before as a warm up act before I got on, and in the crowd I could see him with the snake around his neck, uh, just watching the show in this, like outdoor festival, which was the strangest thing to be looking at, and I knew in the boxes behind me next to the amps were pythons and stuff like that. So I didn't dance too much on stage. I didn't move around too much in fear of kicking one off the back of the stage. But that was brilliant, that. And then to Australia a couple of more times in there. Toured Asia again late in, I think it was 2019 or something like that. And then obviously before I moved back to England permanently, toured in England in 2018, doing shows in Manchester, Liverpool, and probably the one I'm most proud of, right in the heart of Piccadilly Circus in London, in an old music club that's been there for 60 odd years or so, where all the great bands have probably, play the set.
Wow. I mean, touring Australia, that Australia's freaking huge.
Yeah, yeah.
How long did that take?
I had a slight advantage that I was living in Australia at the time. But, I was living in Melbourne then. And the next major city is obviously Sydney. And there's no in between, really. And it's a 9-hour drive. That's without stops. And as I said, there's no in between. And those are long gigs, because you spend more time on the road than you do on stage. And even flying, I've tried doing flying, and unfortunately, it's one of the reasons why I left Australia. It's a beautiful country, and beautiful culture and people, but too far away to get to the rest of the world, and too far away to get to anywhere else in there. So it is nice to be back in England, where 2 hours is considered a long trip.
Oh yeah, Asia's huge too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
I've been lucky to have gone around Asia a couple of times, and I remember coming back from one of my tours, and up sort of having a night in Brunei overnight, because it's just where the flights worked out, and that's pretty cool to have been able to see a part of Asia I would never have gone to. I didn't even know Brunei existed until I landed there. And likewise, I spent some time in Singapore because of it, and it's amazing how many little, like countries and stuff are scattered around the Asia area.
man. You've done a lot.
I probably spent more time in planes and hotels already than I probably need to at my age. But I love it. It means I don't have to do any cleaning.
Well, what would you say your favorite show you ever played was so far?
Ooh, that is a good one, Rob. I think the show in Asia with the snake charmers in the crowd was a unique one. I've got a photo of it somewhere. I'll see if I can track it down for you to get across the socials. Probably the show in London was a highlight. That was like the first. That was like the show where I thought, oh, okay, I've made it. I might be all right in this caper. I might be a half decent musician. A strange show, but that was an important one, I think, for me. That was a you're on the right track. But probably favorite show I've ever done overall. It's almost hard to say, really.
I
It's
love
probably
this question.
it's probably the small gigs I've done. Where you go out to like a country town somewhere, or like a random little venue, or it's not quite a music venue. You're sort of playing in a corner of a bar, and you think, oh bollocks, you know what I mean? What am I gonna do here? And no one's gonna listen, and they're not, you know what I mean? Like, I played one gig, I remember once out in a very like country town. I thought I was in makeup and platform shoes and the whole, you know, Mark Bolan look. And but they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So my favorite shows have probably been the almost the unexpected ones, really, because they're the ones where there is no pressure, and maybe you perform better. But they're also the most nerve wracking because you don't know if you're going to die.
Yeah. Well, here's a counter question, and probably my favorite question. What is your least favorite show?
Oh, oh, actually, no, I can answer that one quite quickly. Um, when the pandemic hit, I put on a live stream gig, and it was the pits. Um, my show's quite interactive. You know, I often have a lot of people clapping and singing and stuff like that, and get the crowd to take over. And when you got to play on your own in a room, you know, with no one else, it's the strangest thing to sing into your phone like this, and then because the song ends, and you think, well, what would I normally do at this point? You know, to fill in the gaps. So probably the live streaming gigs I did on my own. I think they will probably be they were the ones I don't remember enjoying any. It felt like a very annoying rehearsal.
Well, is there ever been a time that you absolutely bombed on stage?
um, yeah. I remember playing a wine tasting event where after the wine tasting, it was a bit of a free for all with the bottles of wine. And in a bid to impress a couple of birds there, I tried to go sort of drink for drink with them. And then I had to get up on stage and perform. But the problem were, as I had so much to drink, I didn't really, I don't know how I got through the set. The only saving grace were that everyone else was as hammered as I were. That you know everyone enjoyed it. Um, so that was a lucky that I got away with that. I do remember my guitar falling off. I went for a big ending, a big like power chord ending on an acoustic, and the strap came away. So that was one of those moments where I thought, everyone's got to learn the hard way. You know what I mean when it comes to how much to drink for a show. But I think that was I was glad there weren't very many people by that stage.
That's awesome. Sorry I brought that up.
No, it's funny. I was actually thinking about it recently because a friend of mine who was there was sent me a message about it recently, and I said to him, I said, "Oh, you know," I said, "You said it was quite good," and he said, "Yeah, well," he said, it could have been worse." And I thought, well, I'll take that if that's the worst that I've done. I'll take that because you know I've not tripped on stage yet or done anything like that. So far, touch wood, that's the worst that is going to come from me.
would, would you say you preferred the studio or the stage?
Oh, the stage. Um, yeah, by far, when you get a really good uh, crowd, you know, or great show, that buzz that you can't predict it, but it just happens every 1 in 5 shows. Is sort of my rule of thumb, and everything goes right. That buzz is better than any, you know, drug really, and that adrenaline rush and that power is you can't reproduce that in any facet of life. I've not come across. I have come around to the studio. I used to not like the studio at all. As I've figured out a bit more what I'm doing and learned a bit more, you know, about how to get the sounds I want to get, I have a new love for it. But the studio is not. If I was given the choice, it would be live by some margin. Assuming people are in the crowd.
Yeah. So you do all your recording and everything yourself?
Yeah, so I'll track all the instruments.
Oh
For
wow.
Yeah, for certain parts, like particular drum fills or piano riffs, that because I'm not musically trained at all, I will get people in to do. If I can hear it in my head this run or this particular fill that I want, I will get someone to come in. But for the most part, I'm tracking everything on my own. So normally I'll start with a acoustic track of the bones, and then sort of build the drums and the bass up over that, and then start to lay the guitars. Really, the last thing that's ever really laid onto a track, and then the vocals. But I sort of tend to work from the drums and the bass, and then the other instruments up. And like I said, the guitar, funny enough, being the primary instrument, is normally the one that gets left to the very end.
Yeah. So, well, if you could work with any producer, could you? Who would that be?
Uh, Roy Thomas Baker, I think, who did the early Queen records, and he's been involved in quite a few big pop records, I think, or rock records, I should say. I think he'll be really interesting. Mark Ronson as well. I think he's got a great knack for. I know it's a bit more of the pop stuff. I think he's got a great knack for certain sounds, and of course, there's probably a few of them out there if I had my pick of them. I must
Well,
say, I've been very lucky with the guys I worked with so far. In who did the record, Carl Frederick, who did Love Symphony, Peter B, and of course the guys down at Make Noise Studios in Sheffield who did Make Love and Girls.
but what's the name of the album?
The album's is self-titled, so it's just Jimmy Maddon.
Okay, that's the one that's out now, right?
That's right. Yeah. Now there's 3 or 4 singles as well that accompany after the record come out. We weren't able to record in lockdowns. But yeah, there's the full feature album is available in any good online record store, and likewise the singles.
Like Spotify and everything, or
Yeah, Spotify, Amazon Music,
the
Apple
the other
Play.
all the other lame ass streaming services that aren't Bandcamp.
Pretty much exactly. If you really want to support a musician, get on Bandcamp, and that's the best place to get them.
Yep. And when are you coming to the United States?
Looking like March next year. There was a bit of a push to get me out earlier, to sort of dip my toes in the water a bit, but I think given where the size of the tour now, that it might potentially look like being, that will be March next year, so we've got a bit of time to plan it and get everyone down for the hottest ticket that will be on your shores.
Well, definitely let me know. I'll try to help you any way I can. I don't have much power, but I have a little influence around Louisville, Kentucky, anyway. Which, of
Lovely.
course,
Well,
this is
I'd love to come
this is
out there.
where all
There's some music history out there.
yeah, oh yeah, and this is where all the horse races are. So
Brilliant. Have a flutter on the horses.
yep, it's where you bet on horses. I tell you, you'll have to do that while you're here. You got anything you want to add before we wrap it up? We're about to run out of time.
No, not really. I think we kind of covered most bases. Just yeah. Oh, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Bandcamp, and the other streaming services. And I'll be doing some new merchandise soon, coming out soon. They will all be on the website. And if you really like it, there is a fan club that can be joined if there's any interest in that, and a mailing list that goes out. So pretty much, I'll hit you from all angles.
Thank you so much for being my guest. Everybody, be sure to check out all Jimmy Maddon's. Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's
Maddon?
right, man.
Okay.
There's a French there.
And check out his Bandcamp. You like it? Support it. It's got good stuff because I've checked it out. You know, you can always give it an extra spin on Spotify or whatever you do to help support. And to help support this show, you can always subscribe on the Anchor page for as little as 99 cents a month. And that's how I chase off spammers. As soon as I get a spam message, that's what I tell them. So, and but if you but I can always forget to plug this in. Please subscribe on YouTube. Ring the little bell. Please join the Fiends of Undergroundopolis Facebook